I wanted to show you a little bit of my process I follow to create interesting bases that are quite simple. They add a lot to the overall look of the miniature without like taking away. These are like some examples that I already made for my Sisters of Battle. They have simple materials and some 3D printed bits for extra visual interest. So let me tell you what you would need if you wanted to make them too. Here I have some 6mm cork that we're gonna break down, some super glue, I prefer thin, and bases, of course. You would need some mesh, some metal, wire. I would recommend using some 3D printed bits or leftover bits from your bits box, some terrain paste, and sand. This is sand from the park, actually, with leftover bits. Let's go to make them. The first thing I did just before this was to sand the base so it would be completely flat against the cork. And I will let it sink in and add more super glue if I need to, and we'll proceed to remove the edges so it looks more natural. You can use your fingernails, your fingers, any sharp tool or anything that you may need. Here I'm using also some extra thin cork to add a little bit more height to the base, but also a bit of a different outlook from the thick one. Cork is really porous, so if you're using thin super glue, be careful that you don't get glued to the thin cork because it will seep through. The idea is to create a seamless transition from thick to thin in the cork, but leave enough so it looks like an outcrop of rock. Feel free to add more levels or layers like I'm doing here, or just leave it like that, you know. If you want extremely easy, thick, thin, add some shape, and there you go. Which is really important to always be checking with the miniature that you're going to put on that base. Here I knew that there were like a bit of a difference between the 2 feet, so I wanted something that would accommodate that, but also would not look like cool tactical rock, you know? Adding some super glue and your mesh, wire, or whatever you need is very easy if you're using thick super glue. With thin down one, you'll encounter that you may glue whatever to the tweezers, the fingers, or whatever else, but not the base. Is it the best? No. Is it going to be less gloppy and a bit more seamless than if you use really thick one? Yes. I usually prefer to attach miniatures before finishing them basing, so I know what space they're occupying, and I know if I want to add more interesting shapes or where to add that little skull, some cabling. In this case, maybe that cable was not the best idea, but yeah. After you're done and you're happy with where the miniature is at, I recommend adding the paste and making sure that you don't cover your mini with it. But having enough so it builds up that extra bit of texture makes the transition a bit smoother. And after that, as I am a big fan of like having different levels of texture, I will grab the bit of sand that is extremely fine sand, add it, and voila, here you go.